All right, YouTube, this is 2 Cent back at you with some Echoes of Mana and my 2 cents on Hawkeye. Out the gate, this is a very, very good character, and let's just kind of look a little bit at the one I have here. I have Max Unleashed him. For those who've seen my previous polling session, I went back in on the banners. I have that video, or at least another portion of my poll video coming out, I think tomorrow, depends when I get it finished up. But I wanted to go and give you guys a nice review here. I just slapped the memory gem that I got from this event on just because I'm still lacking on really good ones and I'm starting to run out. But this is a strength-based memory gem, which he is a strength-based character, so I slapped that on there. And so that's all there is to that. Same thing as normal. You could utilize Sword from Above if you're looking to use him more as a DPS unit. So there are other options out there, but strength-based character, give him a nice strength-based card is the simpler answer there. So when we're looking at gear, right now there's too many new characters. I got too much going on. I can't farm good enough gear that I'm looking for. So right now I just have the tankier set on him that I had left over. This was like the first set I farmed in the game, and I've just been replacing it on new characters every time I get them, and then replacing them with the actual good gear. So I think we're going to end up using the strength set on here, like what I have on Kevin here, this Valcina set. Once again, strength type character. I think we're going to put that. Now I do have a little bit of a bone set over here. It's not optimal, but it is one that I have farmed up, and I just kind of placed that on there for him. He still has some decent stats here. I'd like to have at least 400 luck. I'm really shooting for 500, but at least 400. And then the strength is still a little low at 1622, but we are getting there once I get his armor side of his equipment's replaced there. So that's kind of where we're at with him. That's kind of where I think you should be building him. It's definitely another one of those luck to that kind of 450, 500 range, then stack some strength. And then instead of necessarily going for con or spirit, I think you're good with just like stacking some HP on this guy just so he can take a few hits. HP, con, spirit, those are all good, but I think HP is probably the one you'll go for first. And mostly that's just because he doesn't in his kit here have a boost to his own constitution, HP, or spirit. So that's why I say, hey, go for the HP over the con and spirit in this case. So anyway, going over into his kit, which is where I think this guy gets real special. So he has this special technique called Poison Dagger. We're not quite sure if he forgot to apply the poison on it before he used it, because it certainly does not apply poison to the enemy. But it does give him a self buff of some strength, and then does some nice damage. This is an overall pretty good ST. And then his skill here, the spinning slash, I really kind of like this. As long as you can time it right, and you can actually avoid some mechanics with it. So it's kind of nice. And then down here, and I think this is going to be one of the two really good things about him, is he's got this strength debuff and a constitution debuff, which both of them are actually higher than Duran's. Obviously, Duran doesn't have a strength debuff, he only has the con debuff, but this one here is actually for an additional, I believe, 5% more than what Duran can pump out on his, and so that is super special. And for having the rest of his kit being a little nicer as far as being able to provide extra damage, Duran, his other skill obviously is being able to buff, give himself super armor and a constitution buff, which is great in those tanking scenarios, but limits his DPSing sort of potential with it. Whereas Hawkeye here will be better at debuffing and dealing damage than poor Duran. Now we have this support skill here. This is the second area where I think he's really going to excel, especially over some of these standard base units that we have. He's got a self-impaired ally buff for light damage, so it is going to make him a little more niche in that regard, that you're going to end up pairing him with another light unit. However, we got two already out there with Sumo, who a lot of people have picked up. And it being a standard banner unit, we're likely to get in the future if you haven't already. And Lady Black Pearl out there that people have been excited about. And, I didn't give her the highest review, but I'm still technically using her on my team. I'm just not sure the longevity she will have on that team. But being to have a pairing partner here with Hawkeye, that does actually help her in that regard. And then he's got this second one here that is just for himself, and it's ST gauge up 80%, and then a paired ally on skill usage, an additional strength by plus 10%. So what I like about this is that it's on skill use, so you can come out with your Hawkeye, debuff the enemy, swap to your DPS unit, and give them a strength buff for 10 seconds. And so I think that's really nice. Now his debuff lasts 25 seconds. So if you come out and you use your debuff, switch to another character, you'll be able to get that strength debuff and that con debuff on that enemy for 25 seconds, as well as getting a 10% increase to your own strength on that character. And I think that just adds tons of value of being able to use this unit as a support. I think he does decent in the damage area, and we have some footage in the back that'll start to play here that will showcase just him in some cases only acting as a support role, and he'll be able to dip in and out and using his debuff there. And then other times where he'll kind of be on the field and with a dagger user building up those combos and stuff like that. So I think this is a very versatile unit, and I think sometimes when we have these, they suffer from being a jack of all trades but not master of none sort of problems. But I think he actually does both very well and better than a lot of the other characters that we have out there. In fact, I might go as far to say that this is the best character out there right now. And I know that's a bold claim, and it's not because of his overall DPS output, but I think it's because of his overall kind of support capabilities. Granted, it has that niche when it comes to only light units on part of that, but also just in general of being able to be utilized as support and a damage role and doing both pretty well. And that's going to give him what I'd like to call future proofing. And I think that is super important, and that's why I want to rate him so high. So let's get into that piece there. Let's first talk about the AI. Now, when you're using him on AI, he will go ahead and use his buff, which is pretty good. I did find better luck in getting him to use more often. Instead of keeping him on balance to put him on support, he tended to use it more often, keep that buff up. Because he prioritizes it a little bit more than his damage part. I do not think you'd want to put him on damage dealer, so that's definitely not one you want to have out there, because then I don't think he's going to use that support skill at all, and we want that. Now, for his AI here, I ended up giving him a 3.5 out of 5 on his rating, and that's mostly because he doesn't have the ability to buff his own survivability. And AI is terrible at not staying out of danger. Now, as you can see here, having Sumo on my team to be able to heal him was enough to be able to keep him going, to keep him up. However, if you're not running with a dedicated healer, there could be a problem with his survivability if you leave it up to the AI. Now, what I really want to talk about, though, is his manual control. I'm going to give this guy a 5 out of 5 for his manual control. Being able to use your own skills to dodge out of those things will remove that kind of problem that we're seeing in the AI control area of it. So definitely, I think this is going to be a great character as far as your manual control goes. But that does not mean that he needs to be on the field all the time with that. Like I said, and in this little video piece here of fighting this boss, he's dipping in, using his buff, dipping back out. You can go ahead and use, your ST in there if you really want to get some extra damage, things like that, which is just fine. But utilizing him as a support feature to help boost your main light character, whether that's Sumo or Black Pearl or whichever comes in the future, I think is just going to be amazing. And so having him to be able to be manually controlled and be as good as he is excellent. I also think, if we're going to just look at his looks, I actually like his character model. I think he looks kind of cool. I like how he's a little bit different. I haven't played the Mana series before, so I kind of like characters that look like Sumo, but those characters are kind of your normal tropey armory guy. So I kind of appreciate the style that we have here in Hawkeye. So that brings us to our overall rating, and this is where it's going to be nice and spicy as far as a 4.5 out of 5 is the highest that I would rate any of the characters out there. This is just, I think, a unit that if you're going to go for them, obviously wait for his individual banner to come out here in the next week or so, and then work on just, getting him, because I don't know if you'd want to split your ability to pull a 4-star rate up between him and Black Pearl. I think you're definitely going to want to go for him, and up to at least being able to get his some of the support buffing, so like at least his first Unleash. I think that is where we're really going to be looking at him for, and that's also part of the reason why he is rated a 4.5 out of 5. Is, not only does he have what that future proofing we were talking about earlier, but I also think he's what I would call low investment. And what I mean by that is any character that gains most of its specialness or its power or its usefulness in under, having to have 2 dupes of them. So that I think is what's really kind of holding back Lady Black Pearl. Is I think you kind of need to get her +6 to really, amp up or turn on her kind of kit. Whereas with Hawkeye, he's got most of this already baked in, and you just need to unlock that first sort of support passive. And the more that you get along the way is still great, but isn't what I would say necessary to make him as viable of a unit as I think he is. So anyway, if you're pulling for him or you already have him, let me know your thoughts down below. Please like and subscribe. And that's been my 2 cents on Hawkeye.